Chapter 1742. With Medicine King Village Head and Alchemist Association President personally speaking, no one dared to say anything. Yi Qinghan could only shrug his shoulders and agree. Medicine King Village Head glanced at Yi Qinghan indifferently and didn't say anything. His eyes were emotionless, which made people confused. For such a terrifying existence, even if a Sector Lord Level 9 expert came, he might not even look at him. However, he actually looked at Yi Qinghan. Everyone felt curious. Su Zhongxiao naturally saw Medicine King Village Head looking at Yi Qinghan and his heart suddenly stopped. He felt that he had judged the wrong person and shouldn't have provoked Yi Qinghan. Qin Xianxian started to refine pills alone and was a little nervous. However, he quickly adjusted his emotions and started to refine pills under everyone's gazes. His technique had Nanyuan Zhengbei's technique and experience as well as Yi Qinghan's unique and domineering style. Medicine King Village Head was a peak existence among great god pill masters. He immediately saw that Qin Xuanxuan's technique was similar to Nanyuan Zhengbei's. He couldn't help but smile faintly and didn't point it out. Zhengbei, this child's technique might be familiar, but it's still immature. He should have just started to refine pills not long ago. Village Head has sharp eyes. Student knew that I couldn't hide it from you. This girl's talent is extraordinary. From comprehending the fire origin to refining pills, it only took her 3 months. Nanyuan Zhengbei bowed and replied. What? 3 months? Did I hear wrongly? We have been refining pills for countless years. Have all these years been wasted? This is impossible. How can it only be 3 months? Everyone felt as if they had been humiliated. This kind of situation was truly unacceptable. It was just like a cultivator. A person had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years before reaching the realm master level. Then, a devilish brat suddenly appeared and said that he only used 3 months to reach this level. Wasn't this just too provocative? Who could accept this? At this moment, even the head of Medicine King Manor was shocked. Although he could see that Qin Xuanxuan's skills were still immature and there were many details that were not done well, he could tell that Qin Xianxian had not refined pills for more than 3 months. This child's talent is extraordinary. This old man is ashamed. The head of the Medicine King Manor shook his head and smiled bitterly. I also feel ashamed. The first time I saw her, I was stunned by her beauty, so I gave her a few pointers. However, someone actually eliminated her today, so I lost my composure a little. I hope teacher won't take it to heart, Nanyuan Zhengbei hurriedly explained. If such a genius is really eliminated, I would be the sinner. You did the right thing, the head of the Medicine King Manor said in a serious tone. The head of the Medicine King Manor glared at Zhou Zheng and said coldly, Zhou Zheng, we almost lost a great genius today because of you. You'll be fined 100,000 years' worth of salary to atone for your crimes. If you make another mistake, you'll be expelled from the sect. There will be no place for you in the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao. Dong dong dong. Zhou Zheng's intestines were green with regret. How could he have known that Qin Xianxian was Nanyuan Zhengbei's in-name disciple and such a genius? At this moment, he hurriedly kowtowed and admitted his mistake, not daring to quibble. Su Zhongxiao's face was pale with fright. Even the head of the Medicine King Manor was praising Qin Xianxian, and Nanyuan Zhengbei was personally teaching him. Could he still win in the later stages? If he lost, he would lose 15 million strands of wealth. Although he received 1 million strands of offerings every year, he only saved a few 100,000 strands of wealth every year. Losing 15 million strands of wealth was equivalent to taking his life away. After punishing Zhou Zheng, the head of the Medicine King Manor glanced at Yi Qinghan again before turning to leave. This gaze caused Yi Qinghan to be baffled. The others also paid attention to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was originally quite mysterious, but after being stared at by the Medicine King, he became even more conspicuous. Su Zhongxiao followed Wang Zichen back to House Wang's lounge dejectedly, waiting for the second round to begin. Yi Qinghan was also too lazy to continue playing with Su Zhongxiao. He was prepared to get rid of Su Zhongxiao in the next round and get the 15 million strands of wealth first. That was not a small amount of wealth, and could be used to purchase the ingredients for the immortality pill. There were a total of 6 rounds. After the third round was the semifinals, the fifth round was the finals, and the sixth round was the finals. The first 3 rounds would not have any strong alchemy skills, but only to select some talented alchemists. True experts like Yi Qinghan would directly enter the finals. This was something that everyone knew. In the second round, Yi Qinghan still did not participate. Su Zhongxiao was a little suspicious. Some people were sent to the third round through guaranteed entry, but no one could be sent to the fourth round, unless they were experts and directly entered the finals. Fire Beacon City and the Yu clan obviously did not have the ability to send Yi Qinghan to the third round. Then there was only one possibility: Yi Qinghan's true alchemy skills could directly enter the finals. Wang Zichen also felt that something was not right. He was prepared to give up on Su Zhongxiao to protect himself. No matter who he offended, he should not offend a great god alchemist, especially the Alchemist Association. Moreover, the other party had the vice president's backing. Wang Zichen took the opportunity when the second round started to bow in front of Yi Qinghan and said respectfully, "Great god alchemist, this little one has eyes but failed to see. Please don't take issue with this little one's words." Yi Qinghan did not even look at Wang Zichen. Wang Zichen was just a mischievous person. Although he was a little clever, he was still a clown. Wang Zichen saw that Yi Qinghan was ignoring him and stood there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. However, in order to get Yi Qinghan's forgiveness, he had no choice but to clench his teeth and take out a brocade box. He knelt in front of Yi Qinghan. "Esteemed Lord, this little one is ignorant. Senior, please accept this little one's sincerity. This is a top-tier 14 god artifact material. This little one obtained it by accident. You are a great god alchemist. Perhaps it will be of use to you." Wang Zichen was very respectful and did not dare to show any signs of embarrassment. Upon hearing that it was a top-tier 14 god artifact material, Yi Qinghan was somewhat interested. He reached out to take it and was about to open it to take a look. Yi Qinghan did not let Wang Zichen stand up. He really knelt in front of Yi Qinghan and poured a cup of tea for him. He apologized again. "Esteemed Lord, please have some tea." Yi Qinghan did not reply. Instead, he opened the brocade box. A burst of fragrance rushed into his nostrils and flowed through his limbs and bones. A divine herb that looked like a vine appeared in front of him. It was very fresh and contained endless vitality. However, he could not recognize what kind of herb it was. He knew that it was priceless and definitely not cheap. "Get up." Yi Qinghan closed the brocade box. Since Wang Zichen had admitted his mistake, he could not be too stingy, right? When Wang Zichen heard Yi Qinghan speak, he was immediately overjoyed. He hurriedly said flatteringly, "This little one knows that esteemed Lord is magnanimous and will not stoop to the level of a junior. Previously, Su Zhongxiao deliberately instigated me. This little one was young and ignorant, so I was instigated by him and verbally attacked esteemed Lord. Fortunately, esteemed Lord did not hold it against me. Otherwise, my father would beat me to death." Yi Qinghan took the tea that Wang Zichen brought over and took a sip. "I accept your sincerity. Go back. Su Zhongxiao will bear the consequences of his own actions. As for the Wang family, I will not hold it against them." Chapter 1743. The alchemy competition continued. Wang Zichen could be considered an ambitious and ruthless character. He was a direct descendant of a powerful clan, and he knew when to submit and when to stand tall. He knelt down as he pleased, and his face wasn't red nor was he panting. This kind of person would definitely have a good future. Yi Qinghan looked at Wang Zichen's back as he left. Qin Fenghua and Yu Zongxing couldn't be bothered to look at Wang Zichen. Their eyes were fixed on Qin Xianxian. She was the hope of the two families. As long as Qin Xianxian could enter the finals, there would be hope for the Alchemist Association to be closer to Fire Beacon City. When the time came for the Wang family to migrate, the alliance would definitely be stronger. Yi Qinghan retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Xianxian. Now that she was in a good state, entering the semi-finals was inevitable. He wasn't worried anymore. Su Zhongxiao's seat wasn't far from Qin Xianxian. At this moment, he was calmly refining pills. The second furnace had already started to condense pills. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with a blue light as he controlled the fire elements in the air. Condense! Su Zhongxiao focused and started to condense the pills. He controlled this furnace very well. There would definitely be a chance for some supreme-grade divine pills to appear. With supreme-grade divine pills, entering the next round wouldn't be a problem. At this moment he was very pleased with himself. When he condensed the 20th pill, Su Zhongxiao was overjoyed. Just as he was about to lower the temperature and completely condense the pills, the temperature in the furnace suddenly rose rapidly. Bang! Boom boom boom. The first pill exploded, followed by the second, and then the third. When all 20 pills exploded, the entire cauldron emitted a rumbling sound. The cauldron had exploded. Su Zhongxiao didn't see how the furnace exploded at all. His head was buzzing along with the high-grade pills. His face was ashen as he looked at the furnace in despair. He muttered, "This is impossible. Why did the furnace explode? Why did it explode? I've already condensed the pills." Yi Qinghan's control of the fire element was far beyond Su Zhongxiao's. Even Nanyuan Zhengbei and the Medicine King couldn't compare to him. If he wanted to cheat and disqualify someone like Su Zhongxiao, wouldn't it be a sure thing? Yi Qinghan sneered as he leaned on the chair and stared at Su Zhongxiao. Although Su Zhongxiao was going crazy, he calmed down quickly. He immediately started the furnace and cleaned it up again. Then he started to create the third furnace of divine pills. Without a doubt, the quality of the third cauldron was not bad either. After condensing the pill, it began to cool down to form the pill. Then, it was played by Yi Qinghan for a while. At the final moment, the pill exploded, and the explosion almost drove him crazy. How could this be? Su Zhongxiao had no idea why all the pills would explode. This kind of situation would never happen to a veteran god alchemist. Su Zhongxiao blew up 2 furnaces in a row, attracting the attention of the crowd. Some people rejoiced in his misfortune, while others were curious. However, Wang Zichen's face had already turned green. This bastard had taken 1.2 million strands of offerings from the Wang family. In any case, he should at least enter the semi-finals, right? If this continued, they wouldn't even be able to pass the 3rd round. Wouldn't the Wang clan suffer a huge loss? The Medicine King looked over curiously from afar as he watched Su Zhongxiao congeal the 4th batch of pills. Nanyuan Zhengbei subconsciously looked at Yi Qinghan. He could guess that this was Yi Qinghan's doing, but he didn't know how he was able to change Su Zhongxiao's fire origin from so far away without Su Zhongxiao noticing it. Yi Qinghan crossed his legs and leaned back in his chair. Because Su Zhongxiao was eliminated, the 15 million strands of wealth was basically delivered to his door. Su Zhongxiao let out a breath of turbid air. With a pitiful look, he started the furnace again. Completely remove the impurities. Increase the temperature. Add 3 jade fall roots. Heat and burn. Su Zhongxiao carefully followed the steps of the pill formula. Every detail was controlled very well. He could be considered a veteran god alchemist. After 2 incense sticks, he started to condense the pills. 1 pill, 2 pills. He condensed all the way to 20 pills. The success rate was not bad, and very little was wasted. Huff! Su Zhongxiao let out another breath of turbid air. His mental strength surged and gathered around the 20 pills. He didn't dare to be careless and prepared to lower the temperature to form the pills. The blue light in Yi Qinghan's eyes was controlled even more perfectly. It was silently heating up Su Zhongxiao's furnace. This was a 5th-grade demon fire. Yi Qinghan withdrew the blue light. The temperature couldn't be felt from the outside, but the temperature inside the furnace was rising. Bang! Another pill exploded in the furnace. This explosion caused Su Zhongxiao's face to turn green. He was flustered and didn't know what to do. However, the more he was flustered, the faster the pills exploded. After 3 breaths, another furnace exploded. Su Zhongxiao looked helplessly at the judge. He didn't understand what was going on. The Medicine King was even more curious. Even he didn't notice any problems. The refining method, the steps, every detail was done. Why did the furnace explode? Moreover, there wasn't a single pill left. This was really strange. Su Zhongxiao has exploded 3 furnaces. If he continues to explode, he won't even be able to pass the third round if he doesn't have a furnace full of high-grade pills to support him. Qin Feng looked at Yi Qinghan with joy and asked excitedly. Yi Qinghan nodded. Now, Su Zhongxiao had only one furnace. Half of the pills were high-grade and half of the pills were mid-grade. With this, it was impossible for him to enter the fourth round. There were still 2 furnaces left. Yi Qinghan would definitely not let Su Zhongxiao go. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and continued to stare at Su Zhongxiao casually. Is this bastard doing it on purpose? 3 furnaces in a row. Should he explode the remaining 2 furnaces as well? Bastard, if he explodes one more furnace, I will definitely take back his offerings. Wang Zichen roared angrily. Young Master Wang, how could my master joke about his reputation? If he explodes 5 furnaces in a row, who would dare to ask him to be their offering in the future? I'm guessing that someone is behind this, one of Su Zhongxiao's disciples said solemnly. Wang Zichen looked around and saw that the 2 head judges were staring at Su Zhongxiao. If someone was behind this, how could they not see it? He immediately scolded. Do you think I'm an idiot, or do you think the judges and head judges are idiots? Someone is behind this? I can't believe you said that. Get out of my way. I'm pissed when I see you guys. Su Zhongxiao's disciples left Wang Zichen's lounge with their tails between their legs. They could only mingle with the ordinary alchemists on the outside. Su Zhongxiao's 5th furnace was even more miserable. Before he could even start to condense his pills, he was blown away by a wave of heat and was completely turned into scrap. But that's impossible. Su Zhongxiao was furious and roared. Please mind your manners. Do not disturb the other alchemists. Otherwise, you will be kicked out of the arena. Although the judge had taken Su Zhongxiao's money, the 2 head judges were watching. He did not dare to cover for Su Zhongxiao. Su Zhongxiao's face and neck were red. He looked up at Yi Qinghan unwillingly. Although his expression could not be seen, it was obvious that he was gloating. 15 million. If he lost, it was not just 15 million in wealth. It was even more precious than that. Which big family would dare to ask him for help in the future? Even if they did, he would not be able to get much offerings. It would not be enough to support him in his alchemy career. In the last furnace, Su Zhongxiao's hands and feet began to tremble. He would either produce a furnace of supreme-grade pills or be eliminated. Chapter 1744. The square was bustling with activity. Su Zhongxiao had become the center of attention. A divine alchemist who could explode 4 furnaces in a row was unprecedented. Su Zhongxiao looked at the sky in fear. He thought that he had offended an immortal and was being punished by the heavens. He could only pray secretly that he would not be punished again. When the 5th furnace was opened, Yi Qinghan watched silently and allowed him to do as he pleased. But when the pill was condensed, the temperature in the furnace was no longer under Su Zhongxiao's control. It turned into scrap metal. He knelt on the ground and cried in despair. His reputation was gone just like that. There was also the 5 million Yi Qinghan's gambling debt. He even had to kneel and apologize in public. Just thinking about it made him feel despair. Yi Qinghan crossed his arms in front of his chest and lay on the chair in satisfaction. At this moment, Qin Xianxian had successfully refined 6 furnaces, and the quality was not bad. There was no problem for him to advance to the next round. Yi Qinghan entered the finals directly. Su Zhongxiao had lost. Su Zhongxiao seemed to have aged tens of thousands of years in an instant. His face was full of fatigue. He walked to Wang Zichen, thinking that he would be comforted. But he did not expect Wang Zichen to take back his offerings and force him out. Su Zhongxiao looked at his disciples and saw that they were also full of disdain. The humiliation in his heart surged to his head, and he almost went berserk. Yi Qinghan watched silently. This was human nature. Everyone wanted to add flowers to the brocade. But once someone was in trouble, not to mention adding flowers to the brocade, there were many people who would hit someone when they were down. Su Zhongxiao walked to Yi Qinghan helplessly. It was unknown whether he was regretting or pretending to be pitiful. He handed over 5 million strands of money with both hands and knelt in front of Yi Qinghan. He said, "This old man's eyes are blurry. Please forgive me. Yi Qinghan took the money without hesitation and said calmly, "Let's go. I hope this will teach you a lesson. Be a good person in the future. Perhaps there will be another chance." Su Zhongxiao looked up at Yi Qinghan. He seemed to have found the real reason for the explosion. You did it?" Su Zhongxiao looked at Yi Qinghan in horror. Could Yi Qinghan really be a sacred alchemist if he and the two head judges could not figure out the reason behind it? Everyone knew how frightening it was to offend a Saint Pill master. In the future, they could forget about advancing on the path of alchemy. Yi Qinghan didn't answer. He just waved his hand, gesturing for him to leave. He didn't want to say anything more. Dong dong dong. Su Zhongxiao kowtowed 3 times in a row, causing the room to rumble. He said sincerely, "Supreme Lord, this little one knows his mistake. Please give this fool a chance to repent. Even if I have to be a slave or a servant, I am willing to accompany you until I die of old age. I won't teach you anything. Leave," Yi Qinghan replied coldly. "This fool doesn't ask for Milord's guidance. I only ask to accompany Milord, to be a servant who serves tea and water, to prepare materials for Milord, but I don't dare to covet Milord at all. Please grant my wish." Su Zhongxiao kowtowed on the floor, not daring to raise his head. Yi Qinghan kept quiet for a moment and thought, he is a divine alchemist after all. If I want to take over the heaven-suppressing palace, I will need more people. You may rise. Yi Qinghan nodded. Su Zhongxiao was overjoyed. He kowtowed again and again. His arrogance and impulsiveness were gone. He said respectfully, "Thank you, Milord. Thank you, Milord. From this incident, I hope you'll understand that you have to keep a low profile. Don't focus on immediate benefits. You have to keep your eyes open when you recognize people. Look at those disciples you've taken in and those who've come to seek refuge with you," Yi Qinghan reminded him coldly. Su Zhongxiao nodded respectfully in acknowledgement. At this moment he was somewhat enlightened. No one around him was willing to help him in his hour of need. Everyone was kicking him while he was down. Even his own disciple looked down on him. Perhaps Yi Qinghan's prank this time was a blessing in disguise. "If you want to be my servant, you must be capable. Let me give you a small test. Keep these 5 million strands of wealth and help me purchase a set of materials." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and threw the storage ring back to Su Zhongxiao. He said indifferently, "I want a portion of heavenly immortal grass or jade bone immortal root. Once you complete the mission, I will take you as my slave. You can also take the 5 million strands of money and go to some small place to live a comfortable life." Su Zhongxiao's hands trembled. He crawled in front of Yi Qinghan and offered the storage ring with both hands. He cried bitterly, "This fool's state of mind is not as good as Milord's. Now that I think about how I humiliated you that day, my heart is filled with regret. Therefore, Milord, please give this fool a chance to make up for his mistakes. This fool still has some money on him, enough to purchase the materials. Please accept this money and hope that it can make up for some of this fool's mistakes. Take it just in case." Yi Qinghan's tone was firm. He waved his hand lazily and let Su Zhongxiao leave. Su Zhongxiao did not dare to say anything more. He quickly took the storage ring and left the lounge. Qin Fenghua and Yu Zongxing looked at Yi Qinghan curiously and asked, "Mr. Yang, aren't you afraid that he will run away with the money?" Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "I judge people by their money. I need someone I can trust. If he runs away for 5 million, he will be the one to lose. If I don't test him, I might lose more than 5 million strands of money." Qin Fenghua and Yu Zongxing could not help but exclaim in surprise. Using 5 million strands of money to test a person, this kind of big spending was indeed rare. After the 3rd round of the competition ended, Yi Qinghan returned to the Yu clan as usual. He diligently trained, hoping to quickly control the blue demonic flame to its peak state. Land of the 9 prefectures, Divine Martial City, Imperial Palace. The higher-ups of the crazy sect and the Flame Dragon army had already left the land of the 9 prefectures. Now, they were all managed by a group of juniors. The highest cultivation level was only Desolate Lord Yi. Now that he had become the lord of the 9 prefectures, he controlled the 9 prefectures and guarded the 9 divine cauldrons. The world was at peace. However, the little girl hidden in the godly dragon cauldron was forcefully taken out of the dragon vein by the star chessboard. She ascended to the void with great power. The terrifying power in her body forcefully broke the seal and could almost destroy the 9 states. There were no more masters in the 9 states that could suppress her. The most powerful one was Jian Chenxue. She had been taking care of Yi Qinghan's mother, Madame Wang. She stood aloof from worldly affairs and did not care about anything. She silently protected Yi Qinghan's family. Now that she was alarmed by the power outside the city, she immediately rushed out. Lin Shui? Isn't the child that Qinghan brought from the eternal world sealed? Jian Chenxue was surprised to see Lin Shui sitting cross-legged on the star chessboard. She did not understand why she came out of the godly dragon cauldron. Lin Shui was surrounded by a layer of light. It seemed to be a barrier. Jian Chenxue flew up and reached out to touch it. It seemed invisible, but she could not break through it, let alone touch Lin Shui's body. The star chessboard rotated and drew in the stars. A strand of light shrouded Lin Shui like a holy fairy. This desolate Lord Yi was shocked by Lin Shui. An 8-year-old child had such terrifying power. He was now the #1 master in the inner realm, second only to Jian Chenxue. He was at the 3rd level of the Sector Lord realm. However, when facing Lin Shui, he did not even have the strength to resist. Or rather, he could not resist the star chessboard. "Auntie, what should we do?" Desolate Lord Yi asked anxiously. Jian Chenxue was as white as snow. She wore a white robe and was as holy as a fairy. She did not have any desires in these years. Now, she was even stronger, but she had never shown it. However, her prestige was second only to Yi Qinghan in the 9 states. Even a master like Yan Ao had to respectfully call her sister-in-law. Jian Chenxue's starry eyes flashed as she looked at Lin Shui. She did not know if this was a sign of disaster or something else. She did not dare to take the risk and could only choose to go to the big world to find Yi Qinghan. "Desolate Lord, you can control the 9 states. Do not let anyone get close to this child. I will go to the big world." Jian Chenxue's heavenly voice spread. Her white robe rolled up as she stepped into the distance. Chapter 1745. Yi Qinghan was still in the great world and knew nothing about the 9 continents. He was now cultivating peacefully. The 4th round's name list was out and Qin Xianxian was ranked around 4,300. The total number of people who made it to the next round was 10,000. In just 3 rounds, 90% of them were eliminated and the remaining 10,000 were all elites. With this ranking, it was not a problem for Qin Xianxian to make it to the next round. However, there were too many benefits involved in the competition and it was obvious that some people did not want Qin Xianxian to make it to the next round. Medicine King Pavilion was a branch of Medicine King Manor in the Saint City. It was considered a super divine medicine store and was surrounded by at least a dozen buildings. On the top floor of Medicine King Pavilion, in a private room, 2 people dressed in heaven-suppressing palaces attire sat respectfully in the lower seats. They were both middle-aged men with cultivation levels of Realm Lord level 9. They looked at Medicine King with anticipation. "Senior Medicine King, we have given you all the benefits we can. Please help us. This time, the Alchemist Guild must move into our territory." Shi Zhentian clasped his fists and said. Shi Zhentian was the founder of Heaven's Suppressing Palace. Beside him was a guest elder of Heaven's Suppressing Palace and a disciple in the sacred land of Sword. His name was Zhou Wuquan and he was extremely strong and had mastered the pinnacle of Sword Dao. "I understand what you two are trying to say. However, it's not realistic to eliminate all the real threats." Medicine King said calmly. "Is it Nanyuan City? They are the previous Alchemist Guild headquarters residences and they have been eliminated. Is there someone who can make things difficult for you?" Shi Zhentian asked curiously. "It's a girl raised by Nanyuan Zhengbei. She is extremely talented and even I am ashamed of myself. Her name is Qin Xianxian and I'm sure you know her." Medicine King stroked his white hair and said, "This little girl is still wet behind the ears and she dares to make it to the top 3? Shi Zhentian sneered and promised, "Senior Medicine King, don't worry. As long as you cooperate with me, I will make sure she is eliminated in the next round. The heaven-suppressing palace's profit of 10% every 1,000 years is tempting to me. How can I not cooperate with you? Pill King smiled and said to Shi Jintian, in the 4th round tomorrow, Qin Xuanxuan's seat will be in the middle of your 2 heaven-suppressing palace's alchemists. You will be able to disrupt her ability to control her fire. Tomorrow, I will also be giving out new alchemy recipes to prevent Nan Yuan Zhengbei from passing his alchemy recipes to her. Ah, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. Senior, don't worry, I will make sure no one knows. As long as the Alchemist Association doesn't give her a chance to appeal, it will be fine. Shi Jintian said confidently. Yes. Medicine King nodded and waved his hand. As for the other opponents in the heaven-suppressing palace, I will take care of them myself. You may leave now. The next day, the 4th round of the competition began. Qin Xuanxuan's confidence skyrocketed. As long as he maintained his condition, entering the finals would not be a problem. If he could enter the top 3, it would save Yi Qinghan a lot of trouble. Initially, Yi Qinghan did not want to watch the competition anymore. However, he was still wary of Qin Xianxian and decided to follow. On the stage, the 4 people around Qin Xianxian were all from the heaven-suppressing palace. This caught Yi Qinghan's attention. 1 could be a coincidence, 2 could also be a coincidence. However, all 4 of them were from the heaven-suppressing palace's alchemists. Yi Qinghan was puzzled as the heaven-suppressing palace's alchemists shouldn't be targeting a little girl. During the alchemy process, no one disturbed Qin Xianxian. However, Yi Qinghan was even more cautious as he stared at the 5 alchemists without blinking. The judges were pacing back and forth, blocking Yi Qinghan's view from time to time. It did not seem like they were doing it on purpose. Yi Qinghan stood up when Qin Xianxian announced his pill condensation. At this moment, a judge was standing in front of Qin Xianxian, blocking Yi Qinghan's path. He couldn't see Qin Xuanxuan's pill condensation process. Xiu, the alchemist on Qin Xuanxuan's left, waved his hand and condensed the pellet. He channeled the fire origin energy towards Qin Xianxian and sealed off all the fire elements in Qin Xuanxuan's domain. The temperature in Qin Xuanxuan's cauldron dropped drastically, causing the temperature in the cauldron to not be high enough to condense the pellet. Qin Xianxian was shocked as he realized that he could no longer control the fire origin energy. He could no longer condense the pellet and the medicinal properties of the divine liquid were gradually disappearing. He frowned and scolded the alchemist, "You are disturbing me on purpose." However, the alchemist was focused on condensing the pellet and ignored Qin Xianxian. The judge scolded, "Do not disturb others or you will be kicked out of the alchemist competition." With a flip of his hand, Yi Qinghan forcefully broke through the divine alchemist's seal. Everything happened silently. He took the initiative to help Qin Xian condense the pills. Although a portion of the medicinal properties were lost, the recovery was still fast enough. Moreover, his control of temperature had reached the limit, and he was able to condense 16 low-grade grade 14 divine pellets in a short time. When the pellet was formed, the cauldron's lid opened and a fragrant aroma filled the air. Both the judge and Qin Xianxian were shocked, and the alchemist was even more shocked. In a moment of carelessness, the quality of the divine pellets in the cauldron dropped significantly and half of them were low-grade divine pellets. I want to appeal. This little girl is disturbing me on purpose after condensing the pellet. She is not fit to be a divine alchemist, and she is not fit to be a member of the Alchemist Association. The alchemist complained angrily. I want to report this. This lady is cheating. With her strength, it's impossible for her to concoct a supreme-grade pellet. Furthermore, she was clearly interfering with our heaven-suppressing palace's people's pellet concoction. Judge, please be fair. The few heaven-suppressing prefecture's divine pellet masters around Qin Xianxian started criticizing him. Qin Xianxian was at a loss and he looked helplessly at the judge. The judge was from the Medicine King Manor, and now that he had the chance, how could he not take it? Qin Xianxian, you are the one who cheated first and you even framed the other participants. Who would have thought that such a beautiful face would have such a venomous heart? Your score is 0 and you will not be allowed to participate in the next round. Since this is your first offense, we will not blacklist you. The judge looked at Qin Xianxian coldly and said firmly. Huda Yi Qinghan let out a breath of foul air. He did not expect that his actions would give the alchemists a chance to complain. It seemed like they were determined to eliminate Qin Xianxian. Nanyuan Zhengbei frowned as he looked at the alchemists from the heaven-suppressing hall. He wanted to speak up for Qin Xianxian, but it was a fact that Yi Qinghan cheated. How could he protect Qin Xianxian? Cheating is taboo and the most shameful act of the alchemists. Expel this girl from the competition, and she will never be given the title of divine alchemist. Medicine King scolded coldly. Chapter 1746. Now that Qin Xianxian was disqualified and was punished by the Medicine King himself, Qin Xuanxuan's future would definitely be bleak. Qin Fenghua was dumbfounded as he never thought that Qin Xianxian would be disqualified and suffer such a terrible punishment. He looked at Yi Qinghan in despair and did not know what to do. Forget it, the heaven-suppressing palace's people are clearly trying to eliminate Xianxian. It must be because of Elder Nan Yuan. Look at the 4 people around her, they are all from the heaven-suppressing palace. If the Medicine King Manor's people were not involved, this wouldn't have happened. The Medicine King and the heaven-suppressing palace's people have already made an agreement, we won't be able to get anything out of it, Yi Qinghan replied calmly. Sigh, what a pity. Yu Zongsheng sighed. There's nothing to be sorry about. A person's fate and achievements are not decided by the Medicine King Manor and the Alchemist Guild. Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully and said to Qin Xianxian through the window, Come back. Those who are clear-minded will naturally know the truth. There's no need to lose confidence in yourself because of someone else's words. Qin Xianxian was dumbfounded. He had wanted to enter the top 10 and obtain the top 3, but he didn't expect that he wouldn't even be able to obtain the title of Divine Alchemist. Hearing Yi Qinghan's words, he felt even worse. What do you mean? Are you saying that I am unfair? The Medicine King's eyes were like torches as he stared at Yi Qinghan through the window of the lounge. He questioned Yi Qinghan coldly. Yi Qinghan was not afraid at all. Just because he did not provoke the Medicine King, it did not mean that he was afraid of the Medicine King. He stood up and walked out with the dark gold rod on his back. Is it fair? Respected Senior Medicine King, ask yourself honestly, is this really fair? Yi Qinghan's mocking tone angered the Medicine King. The Medicine King's face turned red and his white hair fluttered in the wind as if he was humiliated. Although he was not a Saint Pill Master, he represented the Tao of Sword and the Tao of Alchemy of the great eternal sacred ground. Who dared to mock him like this? You're insulting this old man's dignity and character. You're trampling on the glory of the Alchemist Guild. If you have any evidence that I have been unfair, take it out and I will apologize to you in front of everyone. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving the square today. The Pill King scolded sternly. Yi Qinghan shook his head, pointed at the Pill King and said, The ones who trampled on your dignity and character were you and your money. The one who trampled on the honor of the Alchemist Association was naturally you. You can't represent the honor of the Alchemist Association, but you are trampling on it. You want evidence? I'll give it to you. But then again, if I take out the evidence, do you dare to publicly resign as the president of the Alchemist Association and never interfere with the matters of the Alchemist Association again? This old man has a clear conscience. Why wouldn't I dare? What if you can't take it out? The King of Medicine asked angrily. Yi Qinghan smirked and replied disdainfully, When that time comes, I'll present myself to you and let you do as you please. The entire square was abuzz with discussion. The Pill King represented the most powerful expert in the Eternal Sacred Land's Pill Dao division. The Sacred Land had 2 Pill Masters before, but one had passed away and the other was wandering the world. Now, the Sacred Land only had 2 Pill Masters left, and they were invited from outside. They cultivated diligently within the Sacred Land and rarely showed themselves in public. It was rumored that they would be watching the competition from afar, but who knew if that was true? How dare you insult the Pill King, kid? That's an insult to the Sword Dao Sacred Land's Pill Dao division. This is the Pill Dao competition. How dare a nobody like you spout nonsense and frame us? Kneel and apologize, then get out of the Eternal Sacred Land. Scram, scram, kneel, kneel. The Pill King Manor had tens of thousands of disciples and grand-disciples. The sheer number of them was enough to drown Yi Qinghan with their spittle. Yi Qinghan was currently being cursed by tens of thousands of people. Many people cursed Yi Qinghan in order to please the Pill King, not giving Yi Qinghan a chance to explain himself. Yi Qinghan smiled eerily, not caring about the curses. His goal today was to remove the Pill King from his pedestal so that the Heaven Suppressing Palace could no longer work with him. Then he or Nan Yuan Zhengbei could take over the Alchemist Association and destroy the Heaven Suppressing Palace together. Pill King, Heaven Suppressing Palace, you are the ones who gave me this chance. Yi Qinghan arrogantly raised his head and looked coldly at the Medicine King. He said disdainfully, "Do you want to rely on a sky full of disciples and grand-disciples to cover up your grave mistake? Pill King, you are old now. It's time for you to step down. Or else, the reputation of the Alchemist Association will be ruined by you for money." The Medicine King sucked in a breath of cold air. He had always represented dignity and orthodoxy. His glory allowed him to see the Eternal Ones in the Holy Land, and he only had to bow as a disciple, not as a servant. He never thought that he would be trampled on by Yi Qinghan today. "Shut up. If I don't explain myself to him today, my honor will be trampled on by this brat," shouted the Pill King angrily. Finally, the crowd's curses and discussions quieted down. However, Shi Zhentian of the Heaven Suppressing Palace was gloomy. He stared at Yi Qinghan and wanted to take off his hat to see who this person was. Along the way from the Blessed Buddha Temple's territory, countless people have praised you and worshipped you. The divine bird began to show its despicable nature again, spouting nonsense like a train. Yi Qinghan covered his face as a black line appeared on his forehead. He looked awkwardly at revered Lord Sword and the others. Since when had the divine bird ever heard of the chess saint's name? He had never even heard of revered Lord Sword before. To flatter him like this upon meeting him, he was truly shameless. "Ha!" Chess Supremacy laughed heartily. With his intelligence, how could he not know that the divine bird was trying to flatter him? However, it was rare for a bird to be so intelligent. Revered Lord Sword stared at the divine bird expressionlessly. He waved his hand and took out a large amount of spiritual fruits and immortal wine as food while they chatted. The divine bird swallowed its saliva and looked at revered Lord Sword flatteringly. It said in a wretched manner, "Look at how majestic this Supreme Lord is, shrouded in an aura of righteousness and standing proudly like a sword god. You must be the sect leader of the Sword Doctrine sect, revered Lord Sword. My respect for you, also like the surging river?" Revered Lord Sword interrupted the divine bird's flattery and asked directly. The divine bird's breath stagnated and it thought to itself, "This fellow doesn't give me any face at all. I wanted to compliment you, but it seems like you won't be able to enjoy it." Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and fidgeted awkwardly. He could only say, "Esteemed lords, please don't lower yourself to its level. It's just a cheap talker." What an interesting divine bird. It dares to pretend to be the Lord of Blessed Buddha to save its own master. It can be seen that it's a loyal divine pet. Sword 13 smiled. When the divine bird heard that, it was immediately energized. It trembled and said proudly, "Lord 13 understands this divine bird best. I'm not just loyal. For my master, I'm willing to sacrifice my life for him. My loyalty will never change." This time, even a cold old man like revered Lord Sword laughed and said, "No wonder the Lord of Blessed Buddha was willing to pay 5 million strands of wealth to capture you." When the divine bird heard that, it was happy instead of being shocked. It smiled and said, "Master, it seems like I'm more valuable than you." Yi Qinghan stared at the divine bird angrily. He had come to the sacred hall for proper business, but the divine bird had messed up his plans the moment it appeared. He didn't know where to start now. The three powerhouses of the sacred ground laughed. With such a divine pet, they wouldn't be lonely on the road. Yi Qinghan sent him flying with a slap. Then, he said to revered Lord Sword with a serious expression, "Senior, I've come here today mainly because I have a request. As long as you allow it, Please state your conditions. This junior will definitely not frown. Chapter 1752. Yi Qinghan, Lord Sword, and the other three sat across each other and drank. Yi Qinghan tried his best to keep a low profile, hoping that they could reach an agreement. If the two elders of the Sword Dao sect didn't agree, the heaven-suppressing palace could not be destroyed. Lord Sword looked straight at Yi Qinghan and asked, "The heaven-suppressing palace is very important to the Sword Dao sect. How much are you willing to pay to destroy it?" The heaven-suppressing palace's location is not bad. The land it controls is rich in resources, surrounded by mountains in the southwest, Peach Blossom City in the east, and the heart of the sacred ground in the north. West Suppressing Heaven controls the heaven-suppressing palace. How much of the profits will be given to the Sword Dao sect? Yi Qinghan asked. 30% will be paid to the Sword Dao sect, and we'll have to bribe some elders, deacons, and some powerful disciples. We'll have to hand over about 50% of the profits. Lord Sword didn't hide anything and went straight to the point. 50% of the profits was indeed a huge number. Without the Sword Dao sect doing anything, the Sword Dao sect would be able to earn 50 million faith coins in a year. No wonder the Sword Dao sect would protect the heaven-suppressing palace. I will give 30 million to the Sword Dao sect every year and help the Sword Dao Eternal Sacred Ground cultivate at least one Saint Pill Master. Are you willing? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. Saint Chess Sovereign and Lord Sword exchanged a glance. Their eyes were filled with interest. However, Saint Pill Masters were not easy to cultivate. Even one of them would require hundreds of thousands of years of hard work and effort, let alone two. Some would even die of old age and still not be able to reach the pinnacle of the alchemy path. For example, Medicine King and Nan Yuan Zhengbei. Who do you want to cultivate? Lord Sword asked. Nan Yuan Zhengbei from Nan Yuan City and Qin Xianxian from Fire Beacon City. One of them is strong and the other is talented. At least one of them can become a Saint Pill Master. They belong to the Sword Dao sect and will not betray you. Especially Nan Yuan Zhengbei, he is equivalent to a member of the Sword Dao sect. Give him an honorary elder and the Sword Dao sect will have a Saint Pill Master. You won't have to look at others anymore, am I right? Yi Qinghan said. Deal. Paragon Sword clapped his hands and said, with Yi Qinghan's promise, Nan Yuan Zhengbei and Qin Xianxian were quickly summoned by Lord Sword. It was a formal meeting and Qin Xianxian was rewarded with some treasures. After expressing his goodwill, Nan Yuan Zhengbei asked Sword 13 to work with Yi Qinghan to destroy the heaven-suppressing palace. The huge heaven-suppressing palace was given up just like that, all for the sake of profit. Chapter 1753. In the Nan Yuan residence, Nan Yuan Zhengbei was checking the results of the competition. Seeing Yi Qinghan come personally, he asked in shock, "Teacher, why did you come personally?" Elder Nan Yuan, do you have any sector lord level 8 and above that you can trust? Find me a few. Yi Qinghan asked directly. As great god pill masters, their battle prowess was not very strong. They would more or less have some loyal followers, and their cultivations were all very strong. They relied on the great god pill masters, and also protected the great god pill masters. It could be said that they coexisted. Nan Yuan Zhengbei was one of the top-tier great god pill masters. Although he didn't have anyone by his side, if Yi Qinghan dared to harm him, there would naturally be people stopping him. Moreover, Yi Qinghan wouldn't succeed. I have 6 friends. 2 Sector Lord level 9 and 4 Sector Lord level 8 experts. They have followed me for many years. If you need them, they will naturally be willing to help. Nan Yuan Zhengbei immediately said. Shua. The moment Nan Yuan Zhengbei finished speaking, 6 experts appeared in the depths of the residence. This made Yi Qinghan shocked. When he came, he did see 4 Sector Lord level 8 experts. However, he didn't see the 2 Sector Lord level 9 experts. These 6 are my life and death friends. They can be trusted. Nan Yuan Zhengbei said. Saint Pill Master, if you have any requests, we will definitely do it. The 2 leading black-robed elders bowed and said. Yi Qinghan scanned the 4. He noticed that the 2 leading experts didn't have much life force left. They should be from the same generation as Nan Yuan Zhengbei. Their aura was reserved. Once it exploded, it would cause mountains to crumble. Follow me. After this matter is over, I won't mistreat you. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Nan Yuan Jingbei hurriedly said to the six, Brother Zhu, brother and I, you must listen to teacher's instructions. Teacher is a saint pill master. If you need something urgently, teacher will definitely be able to refine it. Since teacher said he won't mistreat you, he will naturally give you what you need. Remember, you must ensure teacher's safe return. After the six of them had expressed their stance, Yi Qinghan brought them back to the Yu clan. Soon after, he went to the Medicine King Pavilion. Inside the Medicine King's pavilion, the Medicine King's face was solemn as he said to his disciples, I don't care what method you use, but you must prepare 3 sets of these 11 ingredients for me, especially the extreme yin and yang divine medicine. I will take as many as you have, regardless of the price. As for the Tao fruit of reincarnation, if you can find it, no matter how much the other party wants, you don't have to haggle. You must get it. The Medicine King mobilized all the forces of the Medicine King Hall and the Medicine King Manor. His disciples and grand-disciples all went into action. After the arrangements were made, the 50 of them quickly disappeared into the night and rushed towards Watchful City from different routes. Whoosh, 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 dozens of figures were separated by tens of thousands of li, constantly leaping through space. They couldn't fly, but they shot into the distance like swords of lightning. Yi Qinghan and the others went on day after day, night after night. They rested during the day and traveled at night. They maintained their peak condition and didn't dare to be careless. As Yi Qinghan was carrying out his task, Jian Chenxue stepped into eternal world from the 9 provinces. Jian Chenxue had no desires and her thoughts were simple. She only wanted to reach the pinnacle of the human world. Her mentality was also very peaceful. She took care of her children and accompanied the elderly. Her mental state grew much faster than ordinary people. Even desolate Lord Yi, who had Yi Qinghan's bloodline, couldn't compare to her. She wore a snow robe and wherever she walked, snow would fall. Her restrained aura wouldn't startle the beasts and bandits, but the beasts and bandits would immediately retreat when they saw her. Even if someone was blinded by lust, they would try their best to restrain themselves and not clash with her. Jian Chenxue's temperament was too cold. She was like a saintess from a super holy land. She had a round face and smooth skin. Her movement technique was even more terrifying than Yi Qinghan's. She could actually walk on the snow as if she was flying. Her speed was extremely fast. Xiuda Jian Chenxue spent 2 months to step out of the Absolute region and headed straight for Blessed Buddha Temple. At the same time, Lin Wuyan also entered Blessed Buddha Temple's territory. He had entered a dangerous place from the Absolute region and only came out after nearly 1,000 years of experience. At this moment he was weary and weary. He looked like a peerless swordsman grandmaster. Although he looked young, who could say that this person wouldn't kill when he attacked? The 2 of them bumped into each other outside a big city, and their eyes were filled with surprise. Jian Chenxue and Lin Wuyan had just entered Blessed Buddha Temple and were always hesitant. They were inexplicably excited to meet someone they could trust here. Auntie, why did you personally come to the outside world? Lin Wuyan asked respectfully while holding his sheathed divine sword. Jian Chenxue looked like a beautiful young man. She didn't feel embarrassed at all when Lin Wuyan called her that. She replied softly, something happened in the inner world. The little girl that second master brought back woke up. She was taken out of the godly dragon cauldron by the star chessboard. I was worried that something might happen, so I came to find her and go back. Lin Wuyan was shocked and immediately replied, Auntie, why don't I go back with you? I don't know where second master has been all these years, but I heard that he is wanted. It will be difficult to find him. Jian Chenxue shook her head helplessly. No, the desolate lord and I can't do anything to the defense of the star chessboard. That divine weapon should be a transcendental weapon. I don't think even your second master can do anything to it. I just hope that the little girl will have a clear consciousness when she wakes up. The 2 walked side by side. They chatted while looking for Yi Qinghan's whereabouts. The martial supremacy Holy Land was in the north of the Central Earth Holy Nation. It was covered in snow all year round. The scenery was picturesque, and snow floated down from the sky. Two little girls who looked like they were only 12 or 13 years old were flying in the snow. Their temperament and appearance were 50% similar. Their voices were like the sounds of nature, and their bell-like laughter echoed. "Sister, come and chase me." Whoosh! Although the two were young, they were as fast as the wind and the moon. They almost flew into the sky and crossed two mountains in the blink of an eye. The divine treasure that looked like a steel ring under their feet could actually allow them to fly in the air. "Sister, be careful. Watch my air walk." Whoosh! Whoosh! The girl behind them had big round eyes. Her pink and chubby face was flushed. She stepped into the air and actually flew. The order of heaven and earth seemed to be unable to suppress her to the ground. Her white dress swept up the snowflakes in the sky, making her look like a fairy descending to the mortal world. "Two little ancestors, don't be naughty anymore. Otherwise, you will be scolded again. If the Supreme Patriarch gets angry, I can't protect you." A middle-aged man appeared behind the two girls. He was running wildly on the ground, but he could also step on the snow without leaving a trace. At this moment, he was chasing after them like a nanny, afraid that he would lose them. The Martial Dao Supreme had daughters at an old age, and they were twins. They were extremely talented, smart, and cute. They were deeply doted on. The entire sacred ground was in chaos because of the birth of the two babies. However, if the Martial Dao Supreme wasn't angry, who would dare to say anything? The two living treasures shuttled through the forbidden areas of the sacred ground's major sects and families. The major forces were so scared that they didn't dare to open the forbidden area's mechanism for fear of hurting the two children. At this moment, a pressure enveloped the snowy mountain. Following that, a white-haired old man appeared. He didn't have the slightest majesty, just like an ordinary old man. However, he had torn the void and suddenly appeared. This strength was not something that a half-step eternal sovereign could do. The Medicine King almost couldn't take it anymore, but in order to please Yi Qinghan, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and continue forward. In a peach blossom garden, 10 people swept up the dancing peach blossoms. Facing the moonlight, a baleful aura swept out and the peach blossoms shattered. Within the Peach Blossom City, Sword 13 had already taken control of the city gate. He stood on the city wall and looked down, watching the experts enter the city one by one. They were all men dressed in black and wearing bamboo hats. They wore a bewitching flower on their shoulder. Everyone in this operation had one on their shoulder, making it easy to identify. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Black figures entered the Peach Blossom City one after another. Whoosh. Sword 13 flicked a piece of paper with the location of their residence written on it. As the third strongest expert of the Eternal Sword Dao Sacred Ground, it would be a joke if Sword 13 couldn't even control the Peach Blossom City. The men in black quickly disappeared from the street according to the location on Sword 13's paper. They didn't attract anyone's attention. The night was dark and the wind was strong. Even the guards couldn't be seen. Another group of experts rushed in from the city gate and quickly left after receiving a piece of parchment. 33 people. There are 16 left. Including me, there are exactly 50 people. Sword 13 stood proudly with his divine sword in hand. His eyes were like torches as he stared ahead. Whoosh! Then, another 6 people left, leaving only Yi Qinghan's team. Looking at the moon trying to break free from the dark clouds, Sword 13 was anxious. This was the Peach Blossom City. If they were exposed, the Heaven Suppressing Palace would be able to detect them and their mission would be a failure. The Heaven Suppressing Palace was a ruthless force, otherwise, the Sword Dao sect would have acted long ago. If it weren't for Yi Qinghan's timely appearance, the Sword Dao sect would have had to wait for the Heaven Suppressing Palace to announce their betrayal. Shashasha! A strange sound startled Jian Shisan. He was lying on the edge of the city wall with a soul-stealing gaze as he looked carefully. Finally, he saw the 10 people who had arrived late. There was a beautiful flower on their shoulders and they were all wearing bamboo hats. Sword 13 breathed out a mouthful of turbid qi and flicked a piece of paper to Yi Qinghan. A sword ray flashed past and Yi Qinghan caught the paper. He opened it and quickly entered the city. Not long later, The city gate was sealed as if it was never opened. There were 2 guards standing at the inner gate of the city gate, as if they were asleep. The rest of the people were all in the inner room, sleeping like mortals, snoring and snoring, completely unaware that the city gate was already controlled by someone else. The Medicine King used a cauldron and had thousands of poisons in his hands, killing people without leaving a trace. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, but he didn't take out his night metal rod. He didn't want to reveal his identity. You can't expose yourself. The Sword Dao sect clearly didn't want to get involved in Yi Qinghan's feud with the other sacred lands, not to mention that Yi Qinghan had offended more than one sacred land. Yi Qinghan nodded and continued to wait. The rain became heavier and heavier. It was as if the heavens had been severed, and the flood was pouring down. Move out. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and led the group towards the heaven-suppressing palace. After adjusting their condition, they quickly approached the heaven-suppressing palace under the cover of the heavy rain. The heaven-suppressing palace city was raining heavily. The city gates were closed, and all the guards were hiding in their rooms, too lazy to even look outside. How would they know that danger was approaching? Come, let's make a bet. That's right, there's no need to be so nervous. It's raining heavily, and the city gates are closed. No one will come this late. The guards gathered in a room and said loudly. More than 10 guards gathered together and began to play the simplest game of dice. The more they played, the more excited they became. Occasionally, they would look at the heavy rain outside the window. None of them saw a group of men in black approaching the city in the heavy rain. Sword 13 and Yi Qinghan rushed to the front and quickly approached the city wall. They gestured to the people behind them, asking them to send the 2 up the wall. The city wall was dozens of feet tall, and it was impossible to climb up without using force. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Taking advantage of the heavy rain, more than 10 experts formed a great Arhat formation. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan and Sword 13 moved like lightning. They stepped lightly on an expert's palm and leaped into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 2 of them climbed up the great Arhat formation that was dozens of feet tall. Using force, they somersaulted in the air and rushed to the top of the city wall. There were only a few weaker guards on the city wall. They were bullied by the experts and had no choice but to watch the city in the rain. But the sky was too dark, and coupled with the fact that they were not in a good mood, they were not willing to do anything. Thus, they could not see Yi Qinghan and the others appearing at the city gates. But Yi Qinghan and Sword 13 held onto the corner of the city wall at the same time and somersaulted up the city wall. One of the guards was pacing back and forth. A black shadow flashed and Yi Qinghan snapped the guard's neck. Yi Qinghan and Sword 13 crossed their hands and signaled each of them to kill all the guards on the city wall. Whoosh! The sword chi was silent. At this time, Jian Shisan stepped forward and stood side by side with Yi Qinghan. He pointed towards the south and said solemnly, "That is where the Heaven-Suppressing Palace's mechanisms are located. The Heaven-Suppressing Palace's treasury is there and it is surrounded by mechanisms and arrays. Houses are being built but no one lives there. Let's go have a look." With that, Yi Qinghan and Jian Shisan headed towards the south. They were all in the Heaven-Suppressing Palace city, but there was not a single soul in sight. It was indeed strange. Some of the guards in the Dark Manor had already escaped as they didn't dare to stay any longer. The 2 continued their journey and no one stopped them. When they entered the South Street, they found that it was truly an empty city, a dead city. There wasn't a single person in sight and every room was empty. Yi Qinghan frowned and stomped lightly on the ground. He found that the ground 20 meters underground was empty. Yi Qinghan's divine senses couldn't reach down and only then did he find out that there was something wrong with this area. Let's look for the entrance. There must be something wrong with this place. Jian Shisan was also curious. The Sword Dao sect had always wanted to investigate this area but there was no news about it. Even if they sent spies to sneak in, they never came out again. The 2 slowly moved forward with divine weapons in their hands. They were extremely cautious. Not long later, the 2 arrived at a huge mountain. There was a dragon tiger stone statue in front of them and there was no other path. Yi Qinghan tried to move the dragon tiger stone sculpture and discovered that a huge door had appeared on the cliff. It was 30 meters wide and 10 feet tall. Inside, it was dark and gloomy, sending chills down one's spine. Jian Shisan was excited and was about to step in with his sword in hand. At this time, the divine bird ran out and quickly warned, "It's dangerous inside. Don't go in." Yi Qinghan frowned and looked at the divine bird. He asked, "What danger? I can't believe you're scared." The divine bird shook its head and said in confusion, "I don't know. I only know that it's best not to go underground. Otherwise, we won't be able to come up." Jian Shisan didn't believe it and said proudly, "If you and I work together, even if there is a half-step eternal expert inside, we can still break out." Yi Qinghan was also very confident. He could use the dark gold rod in here. There was no need for him to care too much. He directly stepped into the darkness with Jian Shisan. The divine bird's feathers stood on end and it cursed in horror, "You bunch of lunatics. Are you looking for death? It's really dangerous inside." However, the two of them walked forward with firm steps. Yi Qinghan used the two slave puppets to walk at the front. At this time, it was not selfish, but sometimes it was necessary to sacrifice some people. Yi Qinghan and Jian Shisan walked at the back. The Pill King was also at the side. The rest of the people stood at the very front. At the very end of the passage, a few long-lasting lamps appeared. They had burned for who knew how many years, still burning even now. The dark passage kept turning. At every turn, there was a long-lasting lamp. After 3 turns, a huge underground palace appeared. At the entrance, there was a stone tablet. There were a few ancient words carved on it. It did not seem to be from this era but could be understood. Yi Qinghan and Jian Shisan quickly walked forward. Suddenly, they felt their faces burning. It was as if countless bugs were crawling in their bodies. That horror surpassed everything. Eternal Sovereign Tomb, trespassers die. The rune's aura soared into the sky. The weak couldn't stare at them. Even the strong felt their souls being brought into a special space after looking for a long time. Eternal sovereigns, everyone knew that they were eternal. As long as heaven and earth were immortal, they were immortal. They couldn't even be killed. Even if 2 eternal sovereigns fought, it was impossible for them to die. That was why the Saint Emperor of Central Earth sealed an eternal sovereign in hell. This eternal sovereign tomb told everyone that eternal sovereigns were not immortal. If the corpse of the eternal sovereign was found in this underground palace and the true cause of death of the eternal sovereign was studied, the world would change. Eternal sovereigns might no longer be high and mighty and could even be killed. Yi Qinghan and Jian Shisan looked at each other in dismay. Their breathing was rapid and the emotions in their eyes were very complicated. Since Yi Qinghan and Jian Shisan could recognize the words on it, this group of people would definitely be able to recognize it as well. But this matter could not be leaked. Otherwise, it would cause chaos in the world. This place would also become a place that eternal sovereigns would fight for. Jian Shisan moved his sword sheath, wanting to kill everyone and prevent this news from being exposed. Yi Qinghan gently moved the dark gold rod in his hand, causing the underground palace to rumble. Yi Qinghan took a slight step back, maintaining a vigilant posture. The killing intent in his eyes was restrained and there was not much change. Jian Shisan took a deep breath and stared at Yi Qinghan. With the battle strength of the two of them, if they really fought to the death, both of them would suffer. Moreover, the Medicine King might not help him. In order to protect himself, he would not help Yi Qinghan and would only benefit from it. You should understand that this matter cannot be exposed. The fewer people who know about it, the better. Jian Shisan said in a deep voice.